Hey, Ramon. Hey, Ramon, can you hear me?
So, sorry about that. Could
Oh, hold
you?
up. Let me
Yeah,
transfer. I
let's go.
thought it was my headphones, but I'm on second. Okay. All right. So in the waiting room, we have Khalia,
Yes,
right?
let her in.
Spencer Shaw
Yes.
and Lara.
Yep. Laura's there.
And what about Emma Walbridge?
Emma should be coming on.
Should I let her in now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hey
Hey,
Ramon, how are you?
good morning.
Doing well. Doing doing an attendance check. We got Khalia. All right. Hello, everyone. Depending on where you are, good morning, good afternoon. It is noon Eastern where I am here in sunny South Florida. Regardless, I want to say thank you again for taking the time to join us here in our third Friday membership meeting. This is a monthly meeting that we at the national office provide or host each month to kind of share from the national office everything that's kind of going on and just kind of sharing all sorts of announcements. And if you guys have been following us for the last three, maybe four of these meetings, you probably have noticed that we have started to kind of like pivot and change the format a little bit. And we're looking to kind of like add a lot more voices, a lot more perspectives, a lot more interviews, that kind of thing. So it's not just me or someone from our board kind of like talking. And I just realized I didn't introduce myself. Shame on me, bad host. My name is Ramon Lowe, and I'm the Director of Membership and Industry Engagement for the Airport Minority Advisory Council. And like I said, this is the third Friday membership meeting. So I think we're going to get going because I really, really want to get to our roundtable of guests. But before we get there, I do have a couple of announcements that I would like to make. One, chapters. If you are on here, you are most likely very much a member of AMAC. If you are not aware, if you're under some rock somewhere, we have launched 6, hopefully soon 7 chapters. Denver, Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, DC, Portland, and LA. You can definitely become a member of any of those chapters or all of those chapters. It's just $50 per member per year per chapter. So definitely make sure you join. What we want to do is actually what I want to spotlight is a couple of our chapters have had events in the last several weeks. Chicago had a meeting, had an event, a mixer that was attached to a CDA event, and Denver had an event last week, and our Los Angeles chapter had one last night. So our chapters are ramping up. They are hitting the ground running. It's definitely a great opportunity if you are an entrepreneur and you're a member of AMAC that you want to get involved starting from a national level and now to a local level. You definitely want to make sure that you join one of our chapters. And related to that, and I believe we'll be sending an email out on this, but it is posted now. We are launching a membership referral program. So if you are a member in good standing of AMAC, and you know of another entrepreneur, a business partner, et cetera, that you feel should be a member and could benefit from becoming a member of AMAC, we want to incentivize you for that. So you refer someone and they actively become a member, we will take, I'm going to say it right here, at least $100 off of your membership in the following year. Of course, we will cap that at $300, so you can refer at least 3 folks or up to 3 folks to become members with AMAC. And all they need to do is go to our membership page. I think it's members.amac-org.com. And it really applies only to the business or the corporate level membership. So no individuals, no students. If you're an airport, we're willing to honor that, but really just kind of like the business and corporate level memberships. But once you're in there and they're going through the process of signing up, there is a field that we will make available where they can go ahead and kind of say, Robin Gibson had referred me. And then we would take some membership dollars off of Robin Gibson's next membership renewal date. There are some terms and conditions to it. I will make sure that we will share this when we get off of this meeting. You cannot have been a member. It can only apply to those membership levels, business and corporate, and among other things. But I will make sure that that gets sent out as well. So referral program, towards the end of the year now, looking towards 2024, we have an exciting year planned for within AMAC through our chapters, national office conference, etc. We want to make sure that we have as many folks who are joining as possible to kind of take advantage of everything that we are launching. The last thing I want to mention is Legends and Leapers. It is next week, next Wednesday, and it's going to be a great one. I say that all the time, but it will be this time because I know both of these folks pretty well. Corliss Stone Littles, if you've been in this industry for a while, you know who Corliss is. She is our legend, and Mark Brooks of Hyde Park Hospitality will be our leaper. And as always, it's going to be hosted by our chairman, Ricky Smith, and we do not have Lauren Mangum Reed for this week. I believe it is going to be Maury Russell, who will be sitting in her place, asking those questions. So Maury will have the unenviable task of carrying Mr. Smith throughout the whole process. So anyway, what I want to do now, and I'm glad a lot of people have joined and we're recording, and we're going to try to make sure that we make this available after this event, so that those who have missed it, or maybe if you guys want to review it again, you are able to do so. So just like I mentioned, we are kind of pivoting and changing the format of Third Fridays. And Andre Titus and I have been thinking of different names, and we have settled on one. We will release it. I promise you. Been teasing that for a while. But in terms of the format, I want to make sure we invite more voices and faces on this program to lend various perspectives, right? So because we are, I believe, not just on the eve of Thanksgiving, and I believe next weekend is Small Business Weekend, I thought it was very appropriate that we have folks that are small businesses in our industry, and not just small businesses within industry. These folks were chosen specifically because they each represent a specific point in time in one person's journey throughout the whole airport industry, right? You have folks who are very, very new, folks that are kind of like, somewhat new or a little seasoned, and folks who are obviously have been in the industry for a while, or at least representing companies who've been in the industry for a while. So enough of my talking. I would like to make sure I introduce our panel today. I will start from the top. Miss Emma Walbridge. She is the owner of Gameway. And Gameway, if you are not aware, is a premium video game lounge. And I believe, Emma, you can find you guys in Hobby, LAX, Charlotte Douglas, and DFW. Not just one location each, but there are several locations in each airport, right?
Yes.
So
yeah,
we have
also,
no, great to have you. Khalia Guillory, she is the CEO and founder of Nap Bar, which is an eco-friendly, innovative luxury wellness retreat designed to cater to travelers and employees seeking, this is great, respite. I always say respite, but respite from the demands of modern air travel. Khalia, you're on mute, but thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, my friend.
And we have Laura Rubio. She's the president of Rubio Enterprises, and this is a little different, but no less great. I love speaking with Laura, as she knows, over the last few months, getting to know one another. She's a designer and distributor of sterling silver jewelry, and she started her business back in 1996. She's based in Colorado, and she's not just ACB certified, but she's also worked with several operators, I believe. I know Hudson is one, as they kind of carry her products in airports such as Colorado Springs, Denver, Houston, Tulsa, Chicago, and she told me soon Salt Lake City, which is very exciting. So Laura, great having you.
Thank you. Thank you for including me.
And lastly, last but definitely not least, Spencer Shaw. He is the EVP for United Concessions Group. They are 100% ACB owned a concessionaire. They have over 40 years of experience in this space. And since COVID, I know that's kind of like the mark that we all kind of use as to signify or at least measure some of our growth. UCG has tripled or more than tripled their size, and which is unbelievable, really. And I've known UCG for a long time, but Spencer and I have kind of gotten to know each other over a while. But Spencer, great having you here as well.
Appreciate it, Ramon. Thanks.
Awesome. You know what? Let's get into it. I gave a little bit of an intro to each and every one of you, but I think it's best coming from you folks directly. I just want to touch a little bit on your origin story. Just recap again, if I haven't covered it well, and very likely I probably have not. Just tell me a little bit about your business very briefly, and Why airports? Let's start with Laura.
Well, I design sterling silver jewelry, and my jewelry is made in Mexico. It's handmade, it's fair trade. It's really high quality silver jewelry. And I kind of stumbled upon airports. In 2011, I met the owner of Avila Retail out of New Mexico at a trade show. And I didn't know Avila Retail. I didn't know that people spend so much money at airport stores. I thought, if everybody's as cheap as I am, they're just buying candy, a magazine, and going to the bathroom and then waiting for a flight. But it turns out that people spend quite a bit of money at airports, which is wonderful. So I met Kathleen Avila at a trade show in Denver, and they put my jewelry at the San Francisco airport to start, and then they added my jewelry to the Denver airport, then Phoenix, then Albuquerque, and then it was on and on and on, constant orders, and
You got hooked.
yeah, and then Avila was acquired by Stellar Partners, and that was wonderful because they added more stores. And just recently, Stellar has been acquired by Hudson, which is even more stores. So I had no idea that airports were such a heaven for jewelry. I didn't know that industry was even open to someone as small as I was. So that's how I got into airports. And during the pandemic, I got my ACDBE certification in Colorado, and I also got my 8A certification with the SBA. And then because I had so much time in my hands, I got my ACDBE certification in 35 other states. So I was what's his name? Forrest Gump, when he starts running, and because he had run this far, I might as well keep running. And so I got this far, so I might as well keep going. So that's how it is with airport stores, and for the future, with Hudson, the future is just real bright.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. Khalia.
Yeah, so I was working in corporate America. I was the VP of strategy at a Fortune 100 bank. I was traveling 75% of the time, working 80 plus hours a week, and I was beyond sleep deprived, and I didn't know it because I've been an avid napper my entire life. Now, when I say I'm an avid napper, I was a kid in kindergarten when the teacher said, "Go and get your red and blue mat." I got my mat, I was in my corner, and I was out. She didn't have to fight with me, and I just been an avid napper my entire life. I played D1 ball, went on scholarship, played basketball there. That's where I really perfected the art of a power nap. So fast forward to corporate America, I still continue to nap. And I found that when I was traveling, I was taking naps in parking garages. I'll get a little early before I had to return the rental car, take a nap there. I was napping in those uncomfortable blue chairs in Gen Pop. And even when I worked up enough to get to status, I still was in a semi-intimate location, but there's still babies crying. There's people talking loud on conference calls. I mean, I couldn't actually get rest. And one day I was complaining to my best friend, and she was like, "Why don't you just create a place that does it?" And I did some research and found that, my friends over at Minute Suites, they've already done it. They've paved the way. So, what can we do to be a differentiator? And that's where we took that model and added in tech and innovation, because that's where we need to be, right? And so as kind of similar to Laura's story, I'm ACDBE certified right before the pandemic came. And the idea, we did these beta tests in Houston and said, okay, well, we know we want to get to the airport, but let's prove why this makes sense. We want to go where the sleepy people are. And the sleepy people at the airport, we're talking about everybody. We're talking about the TSA agents, the pilots, the air traffic controllers, the travelers, everyone. From an American standpoint, statistically speaking, 1 out of every 2 Americans have a sleep disorder. And so, when you're traveling, if there's a way for you to pop into Nap Bar and get some intentionally curated technology, which we own the license to assess through the Oculus goggles and headsets, I mean, that just makes complete sense to me, because especially in the international wing, we'll be able to get those clients or travelers coming through and give them a bit of pause and respite, and then they could go on for the rest of their travels or stop in Houston, which is where we'll be opening. Spring 2024, Nat Bar will be opening our doors for business at IAH and Terminal D, which is our international terminal here in Houston. So we're definitely excited. And it's for anyone. Anyone in this chat probably can drop in the chat if you have had a delay, if you've been on a long haul, on a layover, or your flight was delayed and you wish you had somewhere to go. Now you do in Terminal D with NatBar.
No, that's great. No, and you know what? Listen, you jumped ahead because I know your story. So you already started answering some of my future questions, but I'm not going to hold it against you.
My bad, man. When I get to talking, I get excited.
Okay, we're all friends. Ms. Walbridge, and everyone, Emma Walbridge, don't get fooled by the Brooklyn accent. Go ahead, Emma.
Quite. If you need me to slow down and enunciate my words, I can do.
I love it.
But I am co-founder of Gameway. So Gameway, how did it start? So ultimately, I was in a mall with Jordan. Some of you know my husband, Jordan Walbridge, and we came across a quasi-similar concept. And it was geared towards kids and in a different setting. But I knew that if they took that concept and it was put in a location with the dominant demographics of video gamers, which is actually millennials, so average age is 35 who play, that's busy all the time, this would be highly successful. And that was the airports. So knowing nothing about airports, I probably did the process completely the wrong way to begin with, just through learning. We reached out to the top 5 busiest airports in the US through email, right? Shooting our shot, right? Who would at least meet with us to know about this new concept, right? Because surely you're going to be as excited as us. Well, not quite so much, but actually DFW did. They saw the vision and they believed that customers needed a form of entertainment while at airports. People were stressed. They come in sometimes early and they have time. They have the dwell time. And it's there as a form of relaxation that they are very comfortable with. 75% of Americans do video games on a regular basis. People know video games. It's a familiar concept. And they gave us the opportunity with 2 locations. And I remember distinctly opening DFW. And that's when true entrepreneur fear sets in. Because you're like, I know this concept will work. I really hope this concept will work. Right? And we opened the doors and a friend texted me within 2 hours and she sent me a link and she went, isn't this what you guys are trying to do? And I was like, oh no, someone's beaten us to it. And I opened the link and my friend in England sent me a Reddit link of us trending #1 within 2 hours of opening. And it was real validation that passengers wanted these experiences. So it sort of went from there.
No, that's great. And listen, we know each other for a while, so I know the story.
Yeah, you do.
And unfortunately, I do know Jordan. But Spencer, so I went with you last, 1, because ladies first, but 2, you're in a different position than the other 3 ladies, right? You're actually operating. You would be an operator of these concepts or a partner of these concepts. So you're unique in that if you can give a little bit about UCG and obviously then and transition to your kind of background and history and how you got into UCG.
Sure, yeah. 1979, UCG starts in what we call the hospitality business, selling tobacco in Cleveland. Lebanese immigrant family, right? Coming from Lebanon to live out the American dream, right? No cool novel idea, no games in the airports or in sleep pods. It was just good old fashioned, American hard work. And that's where we started. 82 is when we came into Cleveland and had short-term leases there for a long time and have been there ever since. Like you said, through the COVID contraction, as we call it, we doubled down and started operating more and growing and picking up where people didn't want to operate. And really, our biggest challenge is the brands, they want the highest standards of the highest standards, right? We want the highest standards. That's what our business is built on, and trying to figure out what the post-COVID world looks like to fill those standards that are going to keep getting higher. So we're a hospitality business, and we hope to get involved and sell your product in our stores, in our airports, anywhere you want to go.
No, that's great. And I'm gonna go to the next question, probably just pick up with you and you and Emma specifically. And again, I mentioned if anyone is joining late, the reason why we constructed this panel the way we have is, again, each of these folks represents a different, not just a different point in an entrepreneur's journey within airport concessions, but also it's a different point of view. So I'm going to start really with you, Spencer and Emma, because you guys are operating on this, and then maybe Khalia and Laura, you guys might, I don't know if you can be scared, straight or whatever on this, but let's talk about some of the challenges. Funding is the big thing, right? It does cost money to get these things not just built, but really and off the ground, but sustainable to keep going. And our costs are not going down, at least not that I see. I don't operate, but I know that from what I'm told. Just talk about some of the challenges that you guys might face. And I'll start with you, Spencer, on that, and then we'll go to Emma.
Yeah, funding is big. And of course, in airports, we talk to street side operators, and they're used to coming into the airport and, or going in and building for X amount per square foot. Some places we're seeing $1,500 a square foot to build an airport. So funding is big. UCG has been lucky to capitalize on COVID funding, and we went in clean to COVID, and we were able to project there. So I haven't explored that world, and I'm hoping to learn some stuff today if anybody else has got that. But really the big thing I would point out right off rip is just expect to pay more to maintain and expect to pay more to build. And the throughput's there, but you got to pay for it on the back end. That's the biggest number one coming in off the street to keep your eyes for.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, funding's always an interesting one, especially in airports. Like, we're doing painters and tile work in airport it's eye-watering the difference, airport side versus street side. It is. I'm dealing with it right now. And, you match the sort of the high CapEx costs with, we're dealing with high interest rates right now. It is an intimidating place to be when you're looking at funding. But I always remind myself and I think this is really important to note, when we started Gameway, we were trying to do funding on an idea. Like, try getting people to fund you when you have no store and no product. And do you know airports? No, not really. But we're going to make it happen. That's always an interesting time to get funding. And then, like you guys, you grew during a pandemic. Trying to get funding during a pandemic, that's no easy feat. And then, now we're dealing with higher CapEx and higher interest rates. So I would always say that funding's always challenging in business, no matter when it is, but there is always money to be had. And therefore, if you're willing to commit to it and you're willing to be creative in how you go about it, there's always an opportunity for funding.
So what creative? You mentioned creative. Like what is an example? I'm not asking you for the secret sauce.
I was going to say, is that the secret sauce? You'd have to buy a few more drinks for me to sell the creative ways we've done it. Jordan might say that I've tried to convince him to sell a liver, but I would deny that. But when we talk about creativity, we have opportunities in the sense, typical ways of, banks or primes, offer things. But if you're willing to do the work, I'm not going to give you the secret sauce, but if you're willing to do the work, there are ways to fund things.
So real quick question I'm just going to follow up, Emma, has it gotten easier now that you have actual proof of concept and operating?
I always thought it would be easier, but it's not. It's just the challenges are different.
Gotcha. So Khalia, Laura, just hearing that, I know, Khalia, you're on the cusp of launching something. I mean, do you guys have similar stories or viewpoints, or maybe something a little more nuanced? And I'll start with you.
No, I mean, I echo Emma. I mean, this is an idea, right? We haven't proved the concept for a specific nap bar. I can point to, my collaborator, because I don't refer to them as a competitor, because I believe competition is out, collaboration is in. So yeah, I can always point to them. But, for me, my truth is that there's a disparity when you come to funding. I come from banking. So, the disparity, especially when you think of BIPOCs, women, anyone from the LGBTQ community plus. So we don't even talk about that. We know what it is, right? So I come to school of thought, well, what can I do to control what I can control? And, for me, it's tightening up before I made the leap from corporate America is I bootstrapped 100% of this business. So that meant that I needed to go in and rework my budget. I needed to make some additional sacrifices so that I could have access to my own resources so that I can be in a position to do this. You know, the other things that we can do is go in and put a Google alert, you know, pitch competitions are a thing. Go in there and brush off your slides and go out there. There's free money, there's pitch competitions, there's grants. If you go into Google Alerts and just set it for pitch competitions, small business pitch competitions, grants for small businesses, it'll automatically let you know when there's an opportunity. Crowdfunding, you know, there's reward based and there's also revenue sharing. If you have a community that has been supporting you, a family and friends, you know, there's so many strategic ways that you can do it. Me personally, strategic partnerships, I come from strategy, so strategic partnerships are a thing for me. You know, I can share that, you know, Lululemon has signed on to be our official uniform sponsor. So, you know, people might think, oh, yeah, okay, that's cool. But for me, that's saving me money out of my pocket that I would have to spend to provide uniforms for my employees. So every little bit counts. My grandfather used to say oatmeal is better than no meal. So, you know, I come from that school of thought.
Gotcha. Laura, how about your perspective in terms of you're a product provider, but you're also looking to maybe perhaps launch a concept. You know, what is your view in terms of what you see and how, you know, the funding challenges, the financing challenges within this space?
Well, I am blessed that I do not have funding challenges at all.
All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty good there. Yeah, no. Yeah, no,
we won't be too
no
jealous.
cash flow issues, no, you know, and maybe it's because I'm not trying to open a store. I'm not, you know, my jewelry is not in one unique location that is only my jewelry. I'm developing brand corners for stores. So and you know, financing that's not an issue.
Oh, that's good. Well, Khalia, let me get back to you then. You mentioned just different funding, especially for certain groups, right? We have the Fearless Fund in Atlanta. We have, I know Pharrell has his own lending sources, and there are a couple others that come to mind in terms of like folks who want to provide capital or seed money at least to get folks started. Is that kind of like the avenue that you've been looking at, especially for your venture? And it helps that you have a background, so it helps, you know, you got insight on that.
Say that one more time, the last part.
No, I said it helps that you have a backing background, so like, you know, you have insight on that stuff.
Well, but you know, I come from banking, but I come from the sales side of it, sales and strategy,
Okay.
you know, so I wasn't like engulfed in P&Ls. Like I would have tore my hair out if I had to do that all day. So, you know, but I am open to exploring all avenues, right? Because when you're in this phase, I can't come on and say, oh, I have 5 locations and I'm working on 6 that we're gonna grow. Like, yeah, this is an idea. We landed our first location as our flagship, but now we're looking to scale. How can we do this one right and perfect it? So I'm exploring all avenues when it comes to funding and making sure I understand what my end goals are and what my strategy, my acquisition strategy, you know, what does that even look like, my scale strategy, so I can ensure that I am adopting the right financing and funding that will make sense, not just for me, but for future investors and for my team as well. You know, for me, it's community based. So it's not about just Khalia, it's about NAPBAR community.
Gotcha. So just related to that, I mean, my next question really is just about something very specific. Yes, funding and financing is a big thing, but labor is another. And I want to go to Spencer first on this, since you guys have just opened a couple of stores, I believe, in Cincinnati, right? I think you and I have spoken, at least digitally or you know, offline, where you mentioned it's not so much maybe the frontline folks that you're having a hard time identifying and attracting. It's maybe one tier above that. Just talk about what you meant by it when you were kind of having our exchange.
Sure. Yeah. During COVID, we tried to eliminate the excuse of like everybody's short staffed. That can't be the reason why we're losing, right? So what we've seen of late is it seems like that has peaked for us at least, right? The team members up and that are running the store behind the counter. Sure, we have to pay them a lot. Sure, we're going through a lot more folks at the front counter, but they're there. The gap is finding those folks, for us anyway, that can run those stores when ownership or upper management is out trying to develop new stores, right? We've tripled in size. It could have been more than that had we been able to early on find. Our theory is this: the GMs that used to be a GM that could run and operate a business unit with ownership 100 miles away, they were resourceful enough during COVID to go find something else, right? To go find another job. Same thing for the regionals. These are most likely college educated folks that can bounce around. So what we found is now we've got people to fill the shifts. It's finding that middle layer to lead the shifts. And that's our whole thing for 2024. It's just focusing on leadership. The growth opportunities are there. And I think this is a repercussion that I didn't see coming for sure, right? Like it was focus on the team in front of the counter. And then we forgot, or at least I did, about the folks that were there picking up when those folks were gone, and we burnt them out too. And it seems like they're gone forever, at least our experience. So hopefully we can find them. And I like Khalia's attitude, right? At the end of the day, her secret sauce is she just gets out there and does it, right? Get out there and do it and get it done and get out. It's on the wall for that reason, right? So I think that's the way we got to keep asking the questions, keep looking, and then we'll find them. They'll be there.
Well, then that kind of leads me to a follow-up question on that end. Are you, I mean, as small businesses, I'm sure all of you are probably a lot more selective in what opportunities you're looking to pursue. So in addition to, never mind if funding is not and financing is not an issue, it's not a challenge at all, but labor is, just like you were saying, Spencer, does that then kind of force you to pull back? I'd like to pursue X airport, but I might not be structured or staffed properly. So now I have to rethink that kind of thing. Or do you do some sort of reconnaissance work to make sure that that is in place before you decide to pursue something?
Yeah, no, that's the hardest conversation. I go to the family of the Rababis and say, we've got the opportunity. We've got the money to do it. We've got the brain power and the back office support to get it done. But we've got to pass because we have to have on the ground operation. Yeah, it's the hardest. Yeah, so we see it. I mean, it is as a real opportunity cost at least twice for us already this year. New market development twice.
And how about you, Emma? I mean, is it a lot more specialized in terms of you have a very unique concept, right? I think we can probably say about that with Khalia's or even Lauren, her products. Do you approach labor or staffing a little differently with Gameway?
Look, the people are what makes our company successful. Like you can have a great idea, but if you don't have the people that actually make it what it is, it's not going to work. And therefore, whether it's, your business developer who, I think we've had great, phenomenal people, and therefore I'm in the position that I am today. Or, it is my sales associates who are welcoming every single guest, that they are what I can attribute the success to being. So it is a pain point, and it's particularly a pain point for small businesses because you can't share your staff across multiple locations in the same way that maybe other companies can. You are trying to do it for one, and therefore you have all the overheads for just one store, and you don't have the coverage if someone's out quite in the same way to pull from other locations. So, staff, I think, is heightened in terms of the importance, and therefore it does attribute, a lot to building into pro forma costs and making sure that you can operate successfully. As a result, we have really put a massive focus on culture. One of the things that we're doing this year is all of our GMs are building assistant managers. So they're trained that if the GM gets moved to a new location, that they will be able to run the store. So internally, we're building people up, and we're doing that across the country with a book club that we started. We're only a small company, but we have a company-wide book club that I'm actually really excited about, and we're on our 3rd season of it. And it came from our staff members wanting the knowledge, but not really knowing how to advance. So our GM in LAX, worked with us, found a book, and they collectively meet once a month. And it's engaging everyone from the GMs to sales associates to get to know the company, get to know everyone, and it's really created knowledge and longevity. And ultimately, culture's played a huge role in this for us.
So what I interpret that as you're saying you're building out obviously you've built out Gameway to be a force in terms of people attracting that magnetism, the gravity. So it makes it a little easier for retention as opposed to, attracting and convincing someone to come.
Yeah, retention. And also I have, associates that are going to open our new stores because they're bought into the Gameway brand.
No, I got it. So Laura and Khalia, again, I structured this a little differently or purposefully, I should say. Anything that I want to say right now that the stuff that like Emma and Spencer have shared, really, it's not anything new. It's a lot of what we kind of see and hear pretty much typically in this space. But is there anything that you guys have heard maybe just now that maybe have gotten you not scared, but at least thinking a little differently about this space than maybe prior? And Laura, I'll start with you because then again, you're pretty unique to the others in terms of you have a product that you're trying to get into the space. Does it have you looking at airports a little differently now?
No, I'm in Denver and there's a ton of construction in Denver, so there's a lot of possibility. So I don't have any fear that, Denver is gonna, like stores are not gonna want silver jewelry all of a sudden. It's quite the opposite. So I'm very optimistic. No, I don't have any fears actually. And maybe it's just ignorance is bliss, but when I go to the airport and I visit the stores where my jewelry is, the employees are very well versed in what's special about my jewelry. It's handmade, it has a lifetime warranty, it's unique designs, it's really high quality. So and guests who normally have about 4 minutes to make a purchase or not, appreciate that. So no, I don't have any. No, none of that keeps me up at night. My daughter's homework. I can't help her with math anymore. That keeps me up.
Yeah, that would keep me up at night too.
Yeah.
And I have a high school senior. But Khalia, how about you? Again, you're on the cusp of launching something, so you've gotten a taste for a lot of this as well. Any different perspective that that Emma and Spencer kind of shared that and have you thinking a little differently on this stuff?
No, I think that they just affirmed what I had already heard just based on research. And, I came into this knowing that I was green being, right? And I knew I didn't want to take my previous experiences, although I have transferable skills, but I knew that I didn't know the airport industry. So I was intentional about seeking out people who have been in the industry for years that can kind of give me, and these are one of the things we talked about was labor, and so Cassandra Bozeman has been extremely helpful, and Ramon, you and I have had conversations about labor and just working in the business. So I think they just confirmed what I've heard, and that it's just going to be an ever-changing and ever-growing conversation, and just focusing on what we can control and getting quality people. And I think Emma said something that was key is that her company is based on their people, and I'm a firm believer in that. Is that's the way it was when we were on the street side with Nat Bar. My people are my heartbeat, so it starts with them and it ends with them.
Oh, that's good to hear. So my next question, it's going to be about differentiating, right? And how do you guys differentiate yourselves, your concept, your business from what could be a pretty crowded field in whichever category that you're looking in. But I really want to pivot a little bit and have you thinking differently about it. Because again, I asked about funding, I asked about labor, all these challenges and all these constraints. There are two very distinct groups, we could probably say, right? In our small minority women-owned business space, right? Those who are willing and those who are able. And there's very few in that Venn diagram that can be both. You can be willing, but not have the ability. You could be able, but not necessarily be willing to do something. So in that crowded field, and I ask you in that sense, in a crowded field of wanting to be willing, but you're not able or whatever, how do you differentiate yourself from what could be competitor in getting entree into the airport space? So I'm going to start with you, Laura. I know you're always in the tail end, but what is it that kind of separates, let's say, your product or even you as the entrepreneur, because you're the face of this, right? More than anything, from maybe other alternatives.
Well, I believe that people more and more care about where their purchases come from. Mass production is, so last century that, like I believe, and I know I'm this way, that I want to know that the people that made this got paid fairly, that nobody's getting oppressed by the jacket or the jeans or the pair of shoes or the necklace. And my jewelry, I'm proud to say that the people that make my jewelry are very well compensated. One of my suppliers, her two daughters are in medical school. So people are not just surviving, they're not just barely making it, they're thriving, they're going on vacation, they're teaching their children.
Laura, I think we might have frozen a little. And hey, we're gonna have this when it's live and there's technology, right? So we're gonna put a pin on Laura for a second, but Khalia,
So
you know,
me,
sorry,
every aspect of my business is family oriented, from the people that make the jewelry to me, to to my business partners. To me, they're not just business partners, they're people that I know personally, that I appreciate, who are there to make, they think that my success is their success, and my success is my family, my supplier success. So it's all interlinked and interrelated, and what's good for one, it's good for the other, and we all do well together. And so I think the story of my jewelry is not just buy another necklace or another pair of earrings, but buy a pair of earrings that actually makes a difference in someone's life. Because oppression and mass production should not be the norm. So to me, that's what sets my jewelry apart. A ring is a ring is a ring is a ring, but my jewelry is sterling silver, is not silver plated. You could put a one of my rings and a Tiffany ring, and you wouldn't know which one's which, because they're both really well made. I sell to museum stores too, like my jewelry's at the Smithsonian Museum, and the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum in Santa Fe commissioned me to make a bracelet that the artist used to make. So it's not just, cheap junk that you want to fill up your jewelry case with just jewelry. You want nice pieces that actually have a backstory. So I think that that's what sets me apart.
Thank you. Khalia, Emma, I'm going to group you together because, again, you're in a unique position where you have a very distinct concept, right? I think you probably both get lumped in together in some ways, right? It's non-retail, non-food, passenger services, or maybe entertainment. But Khalia, I know Nat Bars, you mentioned Minute Suites earlier. So I know it's been a long time. I know Dan Solomon pretty well. I was there when he was hustling and he was pushing it. He was, going to all the meetings and connecting with so many people. So I get it. But how do you then kind of separate your, this concept and make sure, obviously, if there's a use for it, there's a demand for it, and then make sure there's room in an RFP for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Dan and I actually got on the phone, and because I told him, like, hey man, you have 5 suites, I have 4 suites. There's 10 million people who are going to go through the airport. There's no way I'm going to be able to sleep all those folks. So I would love to be able to refer them to you, and I would hope you would reciprocate. And I think, that's my mindset. As I mentioned it earlier, the differentiator is that I'm not looking to compete with anyone. I'm looking to collaborate with anyone, So restaurants that are in the area, other businesses, how can we all collaborate with each other so that we could pull and create that exceptional experience at Terminal D and IAH for those travelers. The other piece of the differentiator is me, right? I am a traveler, a retired business traveler, and I also became a certified sleep expert. So when you come into Nat Bar, not only are you able to rest, recharge, and rejuvenate, but you will have the opportunity to work. There's going to be workstations inside. If you want to pause and you have, an hour and you're just exhausted and you just want to shower, you can shower at Nat Bar. You can Netflix and chill if you want in your own private custom suite. I differentiated, which is really, really really cool why there's such alignment, because now we have a lot of health conscious individuals, and our suites are targeting to health conscious individuals. What I mean is that we have full-size organic mattresses in each suite, organic sheets. The mattress is that way. We use non-toxin paint on the wall. So it really truly is a Zen, eco-friendly luxury wellness retreat. And our friends over at West M have signed up to assist us with decorating it so people could feel like they're at home, even though they're in the airport. That's the differentiator. The personal differentiator is tapped into my why. You know, I have the opportunity to collaborate with Paradis LaGuardier and Renee Tedesco, may she rest in peace. For many of us who knew her, she was the one that bet her paycheck on me, right? And so my why is that I am going to do everything in my power to make sure that NATBAR is successful. If that means studying the flight time reports, reaching out to folks at AMAC who've already, you know, paved the way, I'm going to do that because I'm tapped into their legacies. Like her legacy is now attached to me. Paradis' decades of experience is attached to me, so I can't fail. There's no opportunity for failure there. And, you know, just to make sure that I'm successful. And then the personal piece is my personal story to my family and my community. Houston, Texas has been good to me. And so this is a win, not only for me, it's a win for them and a win for my family. This is a way for me to be able to break generational curses. And I'm going to allow that to die with my parents. And I'm going to birth a generation of innovation, of technology, and wealth. You know, wealth, not the type that folds or jingles in your pocket, but wealth that we can be inspired to do different things in different places and spaces. So that's my differentiators.
Well, I'm glad you gave a shout out to Houston, because we do have Justina Mann by way of Minnesota who's on, who resides in Houston. Anyway, we'll let Justina we'll get to her in a little bit if we have time. But Emma, it's funny. I'm going to build on what Khalia kind of mentioned in her response. She mentioned collaborate. And I kind of think of it a little differently in terms of like maybe evolving. And listen, I was there from not day one, but from early on, from the early iterations of Gameway. You probably want me to expunge that from my memory, but I remember the early iterations, right?
As of March next year, that first location will not exist. It will be brand new, brand new.
But you pivoted, and maybe this is a case for differentiating, right? It's yes, you have your straight gaming, but then we've added elements, specifically in LAX. So just talk about maybe LAX and the move to differentiating yourself.
You're right. There is the quote, or was it Ford Motors once said that, you know, you can buy one of his cars, but it has to be in the color black.
Yes.
You know, and that's the way it is, right? Whereas now, you know, you have to constantly be evolving. You know, our purpose is to make airports entertaining because that's what we believe the millennials want. You know, they talk about blending business and leisure traveling, and they want experiences. So, you know, we have to be constantly listening and evolving our brand in order to be relevant. And, you know, DFW, I praise them a lot because they truly gave us the opportunity to open the concept, but that was on a permit. So we invested everything we had to open, and, you know, they could have kicked us out in 30 days if it didn't work. And, you know, we couldn't touch the floors, we couldn't touch the ceilings, quite rightly so. I would have done the same thing too. But, you know, it gave us the opportunity. And what we then did from that moment is listen to our customers. We actually built what we call Mothership, and it means that our customers get surveys and they can talk to me and Jordan and give us our feedback, and we listen and we change. So that led to then opening in our LAX store. You know, we offer beer because it's amazing how many people wanted to sit, play video games and enjoy a beer. So we did it. You know, people wanted PCs. Okay, great. Then we're going to do that too. You know, and it is allowing your customer to have some influence on what they want. So I think that makes us different.
So Spencer, I think personally you might have the most difficult response to this, and I'm sure you probably have it already, only because again you're an operator. I know Khalia is an operator, and Emma, you guys operate as well, but you're in a very, very crowded field, not just in a unique field, right? You have folks that are probably like 10 times your size, and you have others who are of your size who are probably looking to grow as well. So being family owned, you have a different approach to this, but like, how do you then, what is the separator between you guys, UCG, and maybe in, you know, the next, the big Goliath to your David, I should say?
Sure. Yeah, I know it's actually not a difficult question. It's everybody in our organization should answer it the same way. It's our number one core value, right? We hustle. We work harder than everybody else. We're small, and you've got to do that early on. It was established with the family, right? They did it for 40 years. They instilled that in us. We're going to get ahead by working hard, and if they want it open in 5 weeks, open it in 4, right? That's kind of what sets us apart, and we'll continue to focus that as we grow. It'll be hard, right? As we grow to keep that same intensity, but you see it in airports where host comes in, just kills it, right? They're on top of everything. They got it firing on all cylinders, and if they can do it, they're the biggest out there. Then we can do it and be just as successful as them.
It's I speak to and I know Ben or Rababi's on he's listening and watching, but it's something I've said to him and said to others, like probably all of you, being a small business, right? It's the true strength is probably a couple things: is proximity to the decision makers, right? You're not going through many layers. I'm sure all your landlords have your cell number, and I'm sure you get all the calls all times of night, all of you, right? And agility. You're not turning a big ship. You got to be a lot more nimble and change direction when it calls for it. And I guess that's part of being an entrepreneur too. You probably don't have an off switch, and I'm going to date myself. You probably have a beeper. You're getting paged at all times of the day and the night. Khalia, don't laugh too loud, please, because even though you're muted, I can still feel that laugh. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things that I think that are a positive, and I think those two, if anything, that we could probably all agree on, have to be the biggest things in terms of what separates or differentiates you guys from everyone else. But I got 2 more questions, really, because I know we're butting at the end of our hour. And I think you guys, each of you, probably touched upon this throughout this whole time that we've been speaking. But advice to your younger entrepreneur self. What would you differently, or what would you tell that person? Or maybe there isn't anything, because I mean, we learn from our mistakes more than from our successes, I guess is what they would say. So, Laura, I'm going to start with you. What would you tell your younger entrepreneur self, if you were to do something a little differently?
Well, I started my business in 1996, and I started very small. And my goals were very humble. All I wanted was to put gas in my car, to pay my rent, and to have money to take a class at a studio to make pottery. And I thought, but if I don't have money to take that class at the studio, that's okay. I'll just take enough money to pay my rent and put gas in the car. So I think to my younger self, I would say to dream bigger earlier, because I started getting good accounts, and then I thought, well, that this is good enough, and then, but go big, go big or go home. Like, approach the Smithsonian Museum earlier, just have more confidence that my jewelry is as good as I say it is, and show it to the Smithsonian, and they're going to say, well, of course it is. And we're going to put it front and center. And so I would say to my younger self, just dream bigger sooner, and hang out with people that also dream bigger, that you don't want to dream small, you want to dream big. And whatever that dream is, head that way, start heading towards that dream.
And I want to key in on something you just mentioned. Hang with people that also dream big, right? It's kind of like they're the pace car in some ways. You want to keep pace with them, not from a competitive standpoint, but because they also motivate you. I mean, that's the great part.
Yes, absolutely. Some of my closest friends are people who also sell jewelry, and women-owned, women who sell jewelry or are suppliers, and we face our challenges, and this woman had surgery, and then my mother had surgery. So we're not just business people that are competing with each other. We're human beings on this road, on this path, and we all need support, and we all can give support.
Oh, excellent. Khalia, you're next. Listen, I mentioned the whole competition thing. D1 athlete. I know we're going to get out there in Nashville. We'll find a court somewhere. Get me on the court, I'm in trouble. So
This done recorded
Oh,
my
okay.
face.
You all heard it. You all heard it.
I
So
know,
you
I
can't
know,
back
I know.
out now. I don't
Don't
know,
worry.
Ramon. You sure you
Oh,
want
it's
this
all right.
smoke?
I got Andre Titus as my backup, so don't worry
Just see
about
his
it.
face. Did you just see the face?
I got Andre Titus. He's my backup. He's going to be the two top. But anyway, what I want to ask you though, like differentiating. I'm sorry. What advice would you give to your younger self? How would you do things differently? Again, maybe you wouldn't do things differently.
Yeah, no, two things is I adopted this motto when I started to make the transition is why duplicate mediocrity when you can borrow genius? Meaning you should have mentors, sponsors, people that you could literally sit at their feet and learn from them. So, for me, that's Mookie Patel at Austin Airport. That's, Justina's been like helping me out. Ramon, you've taught to me, Lauren Magnum Reed, my sorority sister. I mean, Ebony got on a call with me, so it's the community of love, but just make sure that you're pouring into people as much as they're pouring into you. And barring their genius, right? I don't want to duplicate mediocrity. I want to strive for greatness. And then the second one that I'm learning right now in these moments as I work through permitting issues and getting approvals is find the funny. There's going to be something funny in everything. That's the only way I keep my sanity is like, all right, let me laugh about this. Let me pause for a second and then let me move on because I still need to get this done.
No, that's great. Ms. Walbridge, what
Yeah.
would you do differently besides, maybe curtailing Jordan's enthusiasm a little bit?
Yeah, right. So I've always sort of stuck by similar principles, and I don't ever live in regret. There is, hindsight's 2020, but I am where I am, and I'm always proud of where I've come. And I think that's really important, is to be proud of yourself for what you've achieved so far. I know you can always do better, but if you've actually done it, there's a significant part in that. And we always say you have to commit. Like action and doing it will make you different and will eliminate the majority of people if you actually commit and act upon it. And then remember to love what you're doing. Like being an entrepreneur is not easy and it's not for the faint of heart. So I remember having my eldest son, who is Zane, who's now 4, and I was opening my first store, and he'd been on 14 flights by the age he was 6 months. And it is not because I enjoy flying with a baby that I did it. It's because I loved what I did and I was committed to making Gameway successful. And then ultimately just do it. Like go out there and try. And I'm proud of myself for even trying to do something that hadn't been done before. So I know I can always have room for improvements, but I think taking the moment to be proud of what you've done.
Yeah, certainly. Spencer.
Yeah, I think two things for me. Ben likes to say, he's one of our owner board members. He likes to say he's normally right and I'll normally come around, right? So I say listen to the old timers, but don't listen to them too closely, right? Like because you can't be scared to get out there and do something new, but listen to them. They've got a lot of information, and what we learned during COVID was this is what worked for us. I know. Capitalize on the chaos, right? Nobody knew what was going on. That's when you can jump in. There's no playbook. Make the rules. If you're wrong, so is everybody else, right? So find the chaos and climb out of it. Consistency, and my personal promise is if you've got a problem, you work at it. You can't get it. Work at it more. You'll get through it, right? Just buckle down, put your seatbelt on, and work the problem. It'll flesh itself out somehow.
Love it. I love it. So my last question, and we're at almost to the end here. So if you can just share me real quick, like I said, next week, Thanksgiving. I know I already got I've been fasting for the last 2 days in preparation. But let's talk about each of you can just kind of share what you are thankful for. That'd be a great way to kind of end our roundtable. So we'll start with you, Spencer.
Yeah, perfect. Family's the big thing for me this holiday season, right? It's kind of cliche, but we've opened 2 stores in the last, 2 weeks, and our business started with family. My wife's bringing on the cash register. My sister-in-law is there, right there. The Rababis are there. They're the in-law. So without the family, we wouldn't be here. And that's our families are blended now. It seems like so. We appreciate their support, and we'll keep getting after it.
Emma.
Yeah, I'm actually thankful for having the opportunity to be in America. Truly, I, gained my citizenship over here, last year, and I don't believe that this idea would have worked as successfully outside of America. There's so much opportunity to be had here, and I'm truly thankful that I can be part of being an American and being surrounded by the people and opportunities that I have. So yeah, quite patriotic.
Welcome here, very much so. Ms. Guillory.
I'm just thankful for family, for love, for opportunities. Those things don't fall flat on me.
Excellent. Laura?
Well, I'm thankful for good health, for family, for challenges, for opportunity.
That's all we need. I love that family's always in there, but love it. Well, I do want to end on just one note for each and every one of you and any of the small businesses that are probably watching right now or who will be watching once this is available to review on demand. And it's a common thing. So I was forced to take AP English Lit. And I remember Robert Browning once wrote that your reach should exceed your grasp, or what's a heaven for? So as you guys say, we don't, as Khalia said, we don't want to just settle for what we can catch or what we can get in our hand. We want to keep striving because, again, that's how we grow personally, professionally. That's how we further relationships, etc. And ultimately, bringing it back to our industry, that's how we kind of move this industry along, right? By doing a little more each time, or at least being that 1% better each time. So anyway, love to leave you that with that little bit of a line for my AP English Lit class. But again, thank you guys for being part of this panel. I very, very much appreciate it. I am very thankful for it. So I hope you guys gained a tremendous amount of insight, if not at the very least, new connections, because that's what we're here. One of the things that we as AMAC exist to do is connect people. So with that, again, I want to say thank you, but cannot end a third Friday without calling one of our recurring guests. And I already mentioned her here. Her name, Miss Justina Mann. And she's probably going to talk about chapters. So Justina, it's great again. All I can say is seeing you. We were in Nashville. We did these. We've done this, 3 straight times now, reunited, and it feels so good. So I'm going to give you the stage. Go ahead.
I have to tell you that I text Ramon separately, and I said I absolutely yield to the floor to this outstanding panel. I'm over here making T-shirts and coming up with membership campaign themes. We're at the end of the hour, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm thankful for everyone on the panel, all of the members, the whole AMAC experience. You never know when you get to touch somebody in a way that gives them more than they knew to ask for, and I think that this conversation is going to do that, not only for the people on this call, but those who come back. So Emma, Laura, Spencer, Khalia, great job today. I feel like I know each of you personally, like you meet people that you follow on Instagram and you meet them in person and you're like, but you don't really know each other. I feel like I really know you guys after this conversation. So thank you for your candor. Thank you for your presence. And thank you for your motivation, each one of you. And it hit everybody in different ways. I will tell you just in short story, but wait, there's more. Please come back to the next, whatever we're going to call it next month, if it's still going to be third Fridays or whatever it's going to be, and we'll give more information. In the meantime, on AMAC's website, there is a chapters page. We have a lot of activity going on. I invite you to come to our chapter meetings that are forming the 8 chapters that we have, so you can dream bigger sooner. It's never too late, right? If you have an opportunity to come to one of the chapter meetings that's kicking off, Atlanta and Houston are about to kick off, and you can come capitalize on the chaos with them if you want to come over there and do that. And then if you want to be a part of the ownership that will be the officers of the roles, there's still plenty of opportunities. Even if it is an officer role, it's being a part of a committee. So I invite you to go to the website. There's an opportunity to sign up and be engaged, because again, why duplicate mediocrity when you can borrow genius? You can do that with the chapters in AMAC as well. So how about that?
There you go.
I worked it all in. I thank you all for your time, and I look forward to seeing you and your friends. Please invite somebody else next month as well.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And like I said, have a great Thanksgiving and have a great holiday. Take care.
Thank you.